Hi, welcome to Sunstar Knits. I'm Eleanor, and this is my fall knitting plans. I have on my fall hexagon granny square cardigan. I have my fall candle lit here, making my room smell like fresh baked pumpkin pie. And we're going to talk about 7 different patterns. So this is less of a fall plans and more of a fall knitting wish list. So we're going to start with some sweaters, and then we're going to move into cardigans, and then we're going to finish off with an accessory. Sorry, couldn't think of the word. I do have some yarn for this. I have some yarn ordered. Other ones I have no clue. So we're gonna start with the first pattern. I do have my notes on my computer down here, so if I'm looking that direction, that's what I'm looking at. So my first pattern that I'm hoping to complete here in the next few weeks, hopefully by the time September. Why can't I think of words today? September is over, is the Tudor Blouse by Catriona Gillanders. And this one I actually do have yarn for. So if you watched my last knitting podcast, you would have heard that I went to Italy and Switzerland in August. And in Switzerland, I picked up some yarn. I picked up some yarn for a finished object that I showed in that video, and then I picked up 3 skeins of yarn for this. So this is, let's see if I can shine the light so you can see it a bit better. It's a bit harsh, but this is the yarn. It is this kind of, it's a bit redder on camera, but it is very much a true metallic kind of shiny orange. It is a fingering weight yarn by Symphonia. It is hand-dyed yarn. It's in the base Terra, which means it's 75% extra fine merino and 25% polyamide. It's a 100-gram skein with 400 meters in it of fingering weight yarn, which when I picked this yarn out, I didn't have the pattern yet. So the pattern, you are supposed to have DK weight yarn. So I got 3 skeins of this fingering weight yarn and hoped it would be enough. But after buying the pattern and seeing it is a DK weight yarn, I'm thinking I'm going to either have to get like another fingering weight to hold with this, or buy more of this yarn and hold it double with itself, which is probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to find a place to buy this yarn. I did look on the website and it did say that there were some more like online stores in the US that I could buy from. So this will, maybe I'll start it, but I kind of want to wait till I have all of the yarn before I start it, just because I know that if I have to buy yarn, start it, and I run out of yarn because I only have 3 skeins of it, so I would have to I could only knit the 2 skeins up to held double. So I think I'm just gonna buy 3 more skeins and cast it on once I have all of that, which kind of works out because I do have a lot of works in progress and I am feeling a bit overwhelmed. So again, the first one is the Tudor Blouse by Catriona Gillanders, which I'm definitely saying that last name incorrect, using the Symphony yarn in the base Terra in the color Sunset. So, very pretty yarn. Really excited to find that. My next pattern is a gift knit that he knows will be happening in the next 5 years, I said. Just because I do have 2 other gift knits going on that you will also hear about here. I'm not super eager to cast this on. I'm probably not going to cast this on. It's just a, hey, if I get to it, I get to it. If I don't, I don't type of project right now. But it is kind of like, I would like to cast it on in the fall. So that's why it's in this video. And that is the Breeze sweater, as it is called in the book. So it's the Breeze sweater by Lassie Mattberg. And if you have the book, which I do have, that is what is the pattern name. But if you look for this pattern on Ravelry, it is called the Windbowen pullover. That I am pronouncing wrong. I can tell you that because it's got the little umlaut, the 2 dots over the O, because he is, I think, Norwegian. He's Scandinavian. So I am making that for my father because, again, I am working through all of my family in order to just make them all something big, like a sweater or a cardigan. Last video was my grandma. I finished my grandma's sweater, and my mom actually has a sweater in the same color, the Granny Stitch hexagon cardigan in the same exact yarn. So now next is my 2 sisters and my dad. So I do have the yarn for this because my dad and my grandma both love red, and they both have like the same color palette. And this yarn uses, the suggested yarn is Gone Garn Sky, which is very expensive because it's not like sold in the US, so I'd have to pay for international shipping. So I decided to go with Drops Lima, and it is a colorwork cardigan. Again, I will put photos of everything up here. Our colorwork sweater, put photos up here. But this is pretty true to color with the lighting. So this is just a cream color in the color 0100, so 100. And this is just a red in the color 3609. And so the main color will be this red, and the accent contrast color will be this cream. Because my grandma's sweater, I made modifications to it, which I talked about a bit more in my previous podcast, or my previous video. I ended up looking at the yarn that I had and was like, oh, I have a stinking lot of this, and I don't have a lot of this. I no longer have sweaters quantity of the Drops Lima in the red, because these are 50-gram skeins, and each skein has each 50-gram skein has 100 meters of yarn, which is 65% wool, 35% alpaca. So it's not the softest, but it's not the roughest. And I realized I wasn't going to have enough. So I ended up having to buy more, which should be on the way. I ordered it. It should be here, but the tracking's not working, so I may have to contact the website about that. So that was the Breeze sweater by Lassie Mattberg, which is available in his book, Viking Knits, or on Ravelry just as the single pattern if you don't want to have to buy the whole book. It will be my first time making any of his patterns, so I will keep you updated on the writing, but he does have a couple others that I kind of want to make for myself, but I do have a bit, as you can see, I have a lot of stuff I want to make. I have a lot of projects going on, things like that. The next sweater is one I talked about in my podcast episode. and it is for my oldest sister, and it is the Arctic Light Sweater by Veronica Lindberg or Kutavakika. And the reason I talked about it in my previous episode is because it's actually a whip. So it's already casted on. I have the start of the yoke here and the neckband. And I am hoping, for all hope, that I will have separated for the sleeves by the end of September. Just because I'm taking this slow, because it is an all-over cabled sweater. And I have never done an all-over cabled sweater. And I have 2 planned for fall. This one and another one. And so it has this kind of braided statement piece down the front with this kind of like crisscross bobble stitch that's starting to show up. Bobble one. And then it's got the raglan seam. Why can't I think of words? 3-stitch kind of, I don't really know what this is called, but it's got this cool detail, and then on the sleeves it's got this fishtail, I think? I'm not totally sure. It looks like a fishtail, so I would assume it's a fishtail on the sleeve. So hopefully, I'm hoping to kind of, because this is so much harder on my hands, because it is cabled, and it is so much more brain power, I'm kind of trying to do this, alternate this with my other gift knit, and do kind of like 1 repeat of that one while I do like 2 rows of this, just to even out the strain on not only my hands, but on my brain. As you can see, it's struggling right now. So that's the Arctic Light Sweater by Veronica Lindberg. And that's all of the sweaters. That is, well, 1 blouse, 3 sweaters. So that's all of the long sleeve, full-bodied ones. The next one is another gift knit that I've already casted on, but has not been featured in the previous podcast episode because I casted it on after I filmed it. It is the Moan Cardigan by Engineering Knits. Engineering Knits is a YouTube channel. I'm really bad because I don't remember names of anyone. And I don't remember her name. I will put it on the screen. I am so sorry. But she is a vintage knitting channel. And her and Claude from Retro Claude are the reasons I kind of fell back in love with knitting, because I stumbled across Claude's videos and watched her stash busting, and it just like really inspired me and really got me back into knitting, and by way of that it led me to Engineering Knits. And so this is her first pattern, and it's not actually, it's a bit different because she found a vintage cardigan in a thrift store. And if you want all of the details, you're gonna have to go over to her channel and watch her videos, which I would highly recommend. But she found a vintage cardigan that she fell in love with, but she didn't want to wear the cardigan out. So she decided that she was going to make a pattern from that cardigan so that she could have another one she could wear with that would be the exact same, look the exact same, but preserve the original vintage piece. And she's calling it the Moan Cardigan. And it is vintage construction. It's very helpful because you buy the pattern. It is a super duper detailed pattern. Like, there's so many pages, there's photos. She has a video, like an hour-long video that you get access to with the pattern that shows you everything. So I would highly, highly recommend it. But all the yarns she recommends are, and I was going to do the recommended yarn, but they're all wool. And my middle sister and, well, both my sisters are allergic to wool. So I decided to go with, Knit Picks Brava Sport Weight yarn. So that's the label. This is one of the accent colors. My sister loves green and purple. So this is 100 grams and you get 340 yards. It is 100% premium acrylic. It's a sport weight 2 yarn. It's probably a bit of a thicker sport weight. Just looking at it, it looks kind of closer to bit closer to a DK, I would say. Probably a light DK heavy sport. And so this is what the cardigan is looking like. I'm using the main color of purple and white and green dots alternating. I have part of it done. So this is the one I'm alternating the Arctic Light sweater with. So I'm going like one row of dots from this cardigan with after one cable row. So I think it's pretty even. It's about 4 and 4 for both of those. So that's my first cardigan planned, in motion. So not planned, it's happening, is the Moan cardigan by Engineering Knits. And that is for purchase on Ravelry. All of these, except for the very last accessory pattern, are paid for patterns. So the second cardigan I'm doing, I do not have the yarn for yet. It is ordered, is in that order of Drops Lima yarn that I got for the Breeze sweater, but it is the Book Club cardigan, which seems to be the cardigan of the season because the amount of videos I have watched with people being like, I'm gonna knit the book club cardigan, I'm gonna knit the book club cardigan, or I'm knitting the book club cardigan, because I know I think there was a knit along that started in July that I had no knowledge of, but that's okay. So the yarn that is ordered and I am planning on using for the book club cardigan is Drops Nepal, which is the same exact yarn as the Lima, so it's 65% wool, 35% alpaca. It's just, instead of being a DK weight, which is this, or yarn group B from Drops, I don't know why they use yarn groups, but a DK weight, it is a worsted weight yarn. Because that's what this pattern the book club pattern by Sari Nordlund uses, because she holds together a DK weight and a silk mohair, but I did not want to deal with juggling that along with cables and all of that, so I decided just sport weight doing that. So this cardigan I want to be big. I'm probably going to end up sizing up so that I have at least 8 or 9 inches of positive ease, just because I want it to fit more I'm probably actually going to measure one of my dad's sweatshirts and go off of those measurements, because I want it to fit like that. I want it to be big and baggy and cozy and warm and the perfect sit by the fire with a cup of hot cocoa cardigan that feels more like a blanket than wearing something. So I'm going to be doing that. I've seen a couple videos on the construction, and it won't be a construction I've ever done before. I don't know how much I'm going to like it. I'm hoping because it's not like the Arctic Light sweater where it's like a yoke that you're like continuously working out with. So it starts really small and your cables are really close together, and it's just like kind of hard to get into because there's not a lot of breaks. There's a lot of stuff going on in the Arctic Light sweater. It looks like there's a bit more space between the cables. It is all over cabled. It does have main cables going down the front, but it has kind of those blocks of moss stitch as well to kind of break it up and make it a bit more like mind-numbing cable type pattern. So believe I'm doing the color for the yarn, the color beige, light beige. I wanted just like a staple piece. I wanted something I could wear with everything, and because I don't know specifically my colors, but I do know I like don't have it officially. I'd never had my colors officially done. I would love to have them done one day, but that's not in my budget. I believe I am a warm autumn just from what looks good on me, what my mom knows, and she went to cosmetology school, so she learned some of that stuff. So I am definitely very warm, definitely very so I wanted just kind of like a staple piece that I could layer on top of other colors. So it was kind of between an olivey green or just a brown, but I don't actually have any brown cardigans, so that I decided on light beige. So it's probably less of a brown and more of a cream. But I'm not sure, as I've never seen the color. I've seen pictures of the color, but I haven't seen the color in person. So my last cardigan is, again, along the lines of I just wanted a simple layering piece. I wanted something I'd be able to wear a lot. I wanted something that I could kind of like I don't want to say doesn't look handmade, but again, it doesn't like draw people in and go, oh, did you make that? Like, I didn't want a conversation starter. I wanted something that I could just put on and like go type of thing. And living in a climate where it does get cold in the winter, you kind of need those, this is hanging by the door, I can throw this on while I need to go let the dog out or go run get the mail or something like that. So I decided on doing the Novice Cardigan Chunky Edition by Petite Knit. And I have never done, actually I think all of these patterns are by people I've never done before. So I'm again very new to this. I'm very new to garment knitting, kind of like I've been knitting for a while, but most of my stuff is unfinished and it's sitting around my room. So, or it's a brainchild. Like it's a free-handed pattern. The first two, I think, finished objects from a pattern I showed in my last podcast video. So again, I've never done a petite knit pattern. I follow or I'm subscribed and I watch Knee Knits or Amy on here, who kind of feels like every other pattern that she knits is a petite knit, and she's raved about it, and so I decided I would finally try one, and I've seen enough of her patterns to know that she kind of had the vibe I wanted. I wanted a simple, very staple of the wardrobe piece, and I haven't bought the yarn for this just because I don't know if this is going to be actually done in the fall. This is kind of my very last plan. So I don't know if this will get done in the fall or if it'll move on to part of my winter plans. But I'm going to think I either want to do Lion Brand's Woolies or Lion Brand's Hue and Me. Just because both of those yarns I've used before, both of them are bulky, and honestly, both of them are budget friendly. I feel like I'm spending so much money on yarn, and like, I bought 2 advent calendars this year that I've never had an advent calendar before. I'm insanely excited for them. Like, I'm happy I bought them, but I bought like 2 hand-dyed advent calendars. I've bought, like, I spent money, more money than normal on the yarn for the Shona top and the ranunculus and the Tudor blouse that I talked about. And I'm planning on buying more because this weekend, this weekend, the 12th through the 15th, is the Sierra Nevada Yarn Crawl. They have an Instagram channel if you want to look into it, but it's kind of just like you go to all the different yarn stores around Lake Tahoe and the Sierra Nevadas, and you like get stuff. So I'm bleeding money into yarn. So I just wanted something cheap, something quick, because it is a chunky cardigan. It's bulky weight yarn with 7mm needles. Like, I'm assuming it's going to go pretty fast. And I wanted something relatively, I could go down to Joann's and get it pretty much. So it wasn't going to be like a hard to get yarn that I would have to wait weeks for it to ship. So that's my last cardigan pattern. And the very last pattern I have for you is the Autumn Mittens by Cecily Kareen and Lynn Bryn Jacobson. This is a pattern I found this morning because I was like, I'm doing a lot of garments. I don't think I'm going to finish all those garments. I want something that, like, I will finish and will not make me feel like, oh, you failed. So, in your plans. So I'm doing my first ever pair of mittens. We're getting a lot of firsts. It's going to be like my first cardigans for myself, my first mittens, and they're colorwork mittens. They're worked with fingering weight yarn. I don't have the yarn picked out. It's fingering weight yarn with 1.5 to 2.5 millimeter, or 1.5 US millimeter needles, or 2.5 millimeter needles. I may have to, I'll probably size up because I believe I'm a tight knitter, so I'll probably end up sizing up those needles, hopefully, or else I don't know if I'll be able to make them, just because I did have a pattern earlier in the year that were supposed to be knit on 3mm needles, but I had to end up frogging it just because I do have bigger hands for a woman. I am 5'11", almost 6 foot, so my hands are bigger than normal, so working with 3mm needles is torture and causes me a lot of pain in my hands and stuff. So I will end up probably sizing those up, definitely, and just gauge swatching and figuring out the gauge and all that, or I just will end up not having to do that. But it is a colorwork pattern, so by the looks of it, I'll be needing 2 different colored yarns. So I'll get those during the yarn crawl. so I am a bit more mindful about what I buy. And I'll probably end up getting one skein from one store and one skein from another store, unless I'm absolutely falling in love with something. So, but they are really pretty. And if I don't end up doing these, I might pick out, I have a lot of pattern books that I've never worked out of before. So I have both the knitting and crochet official Harry Potter pattern books, as well as a knitting Disney pattern book, and I will probably knit a pair of mittens out of there and gift them to somebody, because we have a lot of Disney people in my family. So if it's not this specific pattern, I will have a mittens pattern to do before winter. And that will probably be a bit more of a priority for me, just because I would like to have those for the winter and for shoveling snow and walking the dog and that type of stuff. And those will also probably end up, I'm planning on making a crochet basket with my scrap yarn, and those will probably end up going in there and going in our front closet or in our front entryway, where the basket will go there. And that'll kind of become a catch-all for like, oh, I really wanted to make this pattern, but I didn't have a specific person in mind, and I don't really think I'll wear it type thing. So it'll be like a communal pair of mittens. And that is my free pattern, by the way. That is the free pattern that is free on Ravelry. Again, that is the Autumn Mittens by Cecile Corrine and Lynn Bryn Jacobson. Those are not English names, so I'm sorry if I mispronounced them. But that is the end of my video. I am so thankful to you guys for watching. Again, if you didn't watch my last video, this is only my second video. I do have a ring light and a microphone on the way, so hopefully the sound and the lighting will get better. But again, if you have any constructive criticism, any tips, really anything at all you want like me to know, something that'll help me out with like my editing or anything, I am totally receptive to that. Again, please don't be mean about this, as this is kind of another hobby for me. It's just a way for me to document my work. I'm not trying to make a career out of this. I just it's something fun I want to do, and I want to share myself and my work with you guys. So any constructive criticism on my thumbnails, my editing, anything, I will love it. I am here for it. Please let me know how I can get better at this. Thank you again for watching. If you made it this far and you want to see me grow, please think about subscribing. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.